All right. Welcome to the I'm a Practicing Musician podcast, where we explore what it means to be a practicing musician from perspectives spanning music educators to famous musicians. I'm your host, Jake Douglas, and our guest today is Kathi Colbert, a lifelong music educator and community leader from Nevada who has been playing the flute and singing in choirs for over 40 years since the fourth grade. After earning her music education degree, Kathi taught elementary music in Nevada for 30 years and now serves as the chair for the Northeastern Nevada Instrumental and Vocal Festival while staying actively involved in her community. Thanks for joining me today, Kathi. How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Nice. And so I start off our podcast with the same question every time. In your view, what does it mean to be a practicing musician?
I think a practicing musician is kind of like when we think of a doctor as practicing. You're never there. You always are involved in music. It's not a matter of being a professional. It's not a matter of knowing that I've got every note right. It's a matter of loving music and being involved.
Yeah, I explain it that way a lot actually as well. We have law firms, they practicing law, doctors practicing, except you don't need to go to school for 6, 9, 10 years to be able to practice music. You can do it
Right.
when you want. So what got you into music when you were in fourth grade?
I always sang in elementary school, and then our in fourth grade, I remember playing the recorder was just part of our classes, and then we were allowed to try different instruments. And I think my parents had found a flute at a yard sale. So it was just kind of like, okay, that's the one. And so I started playing, and we had a neighbor who was a high school student, which to an elementary student, high school student is a huge hero. And every Saturday morning I would walk the block to her house and she would give me lessons. And I think I got a head start right off and fell in love with it.
Nice. So flute was your first instrument,
Yes.
and well, recorder technically.
Oh, yeah.
So recorder, flute, singing, and then what's your progression as a musician in elementary, middle, and high school? Did you just play in the band? Did you kind of do marching band? What else were you involved in?
I was in both band and choir all through from fifth grade on. And I credit them with so many amazing experiences through high school. By the time I hit high school, I was in all of the county band, district band, joined the Pennsylvania All-State Lions Band. And I think that was my first time traveling. Got to go to Denver from Pennsylvania as a kid who had never been on an airplane and flew sight unseen to do this International Lions Convention in Denver. And I was just so enthralled with it. Had different trips to Disney World because of it. And just the experiences were so amazing. And then participated at Clarion University in a summer band clinic throughout high school, and um, completely fell in love with it there. It was a family. I think the musical side of it is amazing, but also the social side of it, because the band was a family.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, it's an amazing community to be a part of, and I was also a flute player. I started when I was 4 years old. Being a male, that didn't make me super popular, but in the band, it definitely made me pretty popular, especially because I've been playing for so long. And so there's a lot of friends that I still have today. I'm turning 35 next week, and I still have friends from the band that just so many great memories together. And um, what exactly, what did you do after you were in high school? How did you choose to take the path of becoming a music educator?
I always wanted to be a teacher. It was one of those things of growing up, what do you want to be? What do you want to be? And it wasn't the cool thing to say teacher. And so I was like, oh, I don't know. But I did. I always knew because I could explain things to people, and I didn't know what field. And it was one of those natural progressions. I'm not sure. There was no light bulb moment as far as what that decision was. My band director had gone to Clarion University. Dr. Mikulski had been his band director, and he was still the band director then. And we fell in love with Doc. There were several of us from our high school that wound up all going there. And that's where we had done the summer band clinics. And it was just such a natural progression. It really was. And so then doing college and again through band and choir, both of those. And somewhere along the way, I loved performing, but once we had our elementary music methods class and got to go and try things out with the little kids, and I went, that's it. 100%, that's what I want to do. And so I backed off on performing as much and said, and I remember having arguments with my private instructor saying, no, I want to teach more than I want to play. And he not so gently informed me that no, I would still be playing. And I'm glad. I'm glad that he did, because it helps to understand everything, to know why it's important to continue being that dedicated musician yourself.
Yeah, very much so. To be able to just model and understand if what you're seeing is correct.
Right.
Right. So that is, I think unique actually. A lot of the people that I talk with want to perform first and then realize I need to supplement my income for performing. So I'm going to become a teacher, whether it's private teacher or going back to school to get a master's and teaching the school system. You actually wanted to teach first and foremost.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, no, I think that that's the sign of a really good teacher a lot of the times, and just realizing, leaning into your strengths of I'm able to explain things that people can understand better than when somebody else tries to explain it to them. So what have you been teaching since then? Have you been teaching instrumental music?
I moved from Pennsylvania to Nevada, like right after high school graduation. It was college graduation. It was just a crazy whirlwind time because my husband and I student taught in the spring, got married in June, and by the end of July, we were on the road, sight unseen, to Elko, Nevada, where I had done all of my interviewing just on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
And we were broke college students or college graduates at that point, and I said, I don't have money to come out and interview. Do I have this job? And
Yeah.
I remember the superintendent saying, I cannot legally offer you any position over the phone, but you'd have to screw up pretty badly to not have a position when you got here. And so they met us here, and I had a contract ready and everything. After trying to soften the blow of no trees coming from Pennsylvania. Um,
Yeah.
and my first position was at Spring Creek Elementary, where I stayed for 25 years, and I taught it was K through 6 at that point. K through 6 general music, and then I started a choir as well. It was a 5th and 6th grade choir, and then 6th grade left and went to the middle school. Thrilling day when they left. I love the littles, and 6th grade was full of hormones at that point. So they left, and I had K5 for many years then as well, and then moved. So the choir was 4-5. And then at 25 years, a former principal had changed schools, and she had moved to town and said, look, I know the answer to this question, but I have a position open for next year. Would you want to change schools? And I sat on it. I said, I don't know the answer to this question. So after 25 years, I switched schools to a K4, a pre-K4 school that was closer to me anyway, and same district, but completely different demographics than I had been in. And then just loved it here amazingly. The kids just are sponges, and they want to do anything, and they want to be loved. And that's where I just absolutely am in love with it. And so, yeah, K4 and pre-K has gotten out of the schedule now, but I've got K4, and
Mhm.
yeah, it's wonderful.
That's amazing. And so for people listening who might not know music education as much, can you explain what general music is?
General music is just that, general. There's a curriculum that is set, but more it's a lot left up to the individual teacher as far as how they fulfill that. Helping kids learn to appreciate music, helping kids learn to have a voice, letting them know how they can listen, teaching them listening skills. Reading music is something that I definitely put in as well. And so by the time they're done with me, that they know rhythms. That's one benefit that came out of our time of COVID, when we switched to online, and I had to completely learn to to teach online at that point. And it's like, wait, 25 years, I know what I'm doing. And no, I had to relearn everything.
Yeah.
But the kids learned rhythms so much better because we could do that. And it worked out so well. And they are so rhythmically proficient at this point. And, Orff is an approach using xylophones and everything so much hands-on. And I love watching colleagues use it. It doesn't fit me as well. I've tried, but I
Mhm.
keep coming back to the same thing of your voice is with you throughout life. You might
Mhm.
not have a xylophone with you, but you've got your voice with you. And so to have them be comfortable in their own voice and to just have an open mind to love all kinds of music. In fact, as we ended school this week, that was one of the things I told my fourth graders as they left. If there's nothing else that you remember as from leaving this school, is remember that music is vast. It's huge, and don't pinhole yourself and pigeonhole yourself, I guess, and just say you only like one thing. Keep an open mind about it.
Yeah. Well, I love the first part of your response. I love the whole response, but the first part, especially where you said you're helping them find their voice, almost as if it's not just about the music. So, can you talk about the crossover, the benefits that music has in everyday life for the students that you teach?
Oh, one of our big focuses is music is life. And we don't teach just music. We don't learn just about music. You know, we start every class with our mission statement right off. And it's they spell out sing, and it's S is stay true to yourself, I is inspire others, and never stop trying, and G give your all. And that was another one of my ending things for the year of, look, the school year's ending, but do you forget these things? Is it just in music class that you should stay true to yourself? No, you be who you are, and you know who you are, and you're proud of that, and set that good example to others. So somewhere along the way, I switched from performances trying to be perfect to realizing that it was a journey they were on and just doing your best. Everything, I think that's my involvement with scouting through the years as well. Cub Scout motto is do your best. And I brought that into my classroom, and
Hmm.
it's not being perfect, it's do your best. And life and music go so closely together. They use the things they use in music, they use in everyday life. And we'll point out that, oh, wait, we just figured out rhythms. You've just done math and music, what do you mean? And they love that connection. We've talked about the science of music, with how vibrations make all sound, and they know that part of things. Comparing it to language arts, there's just so many different comparisons. And in fact, I actually do a reading intervention group, couple reading intervention groups. And in that, I use music to help them with their reading. And we could do that comparison so much of, no, you do keep going. That flow is there. And, if you were singing this, would you take a breath right there? Oh, no. Talking about punctuation, and there's so many things. And social studies. Oh my gosh. There are days when I'll teach and I'll say, no, wait, did this feel like a music class or a social studies class?
Yeah.
Music is about whatever was happening in the world at the time. And so they know the historical connections with so many things.
Hmm. Yeah, that's incredible. And so do you hear feedback from students? They might be too young, but maybe parents about the lessons that you're teaching in that regard being transferable into their everyday life?
I get a lot of thank yous. I don't get a lot of that correlation of saying that this is how I've seen it.
Yeah.
But I've seen it in, even out on the playground, and I'll hear language and I'll hear things that I've said, and
Mhm.
it works like they're using it with each other too.
Oh, well, there's just so much research now on from like hard neuroscience as well as the soft psychological sciences about the benefits of music in other areas of life. And so, uh,
We
especially
talk
that,
about emotions a lot, a
yeah, well, music
lot.
is so expressive. I mean, learning how to authentically express ourselves. So you can have a single piece of music, have 100 people play it, and it'll sound different.
We do a lot of listening as well. And even with kindergarten students, we talk about it afterwards. What did it make you feel?
Mhm.
Close your eyes and listen to this. And I'll have a short segment. And what were you thinking of? And then to talk about it through the class, and to see how many different thoughts there were at the same time from the same piece of music. And, we just did patriotic music for Memorial Day. And one of the third grade boys was just in tears. And it was okay. We were all supportive of that. And we talked about the fact that tears are normal and music makes us feel happy and sad. And, that music made him think of his grandfather.
Mm,
And the kids were so supportive of him.
yeah. Yeah, well, I mean that's interesting too because we can, not have heard a song for 10, 20, 30 years, hear it, and then it brings us back to that moment in time that whatever emotional attachment we have to that song.
Right.
And that's why I think it's so important for music to be a part of kids' formative years. So with this, your what is your experience with students who this is for a lot of them their first introduction to music, maybe not listening to music, but analyzing music or just being engaged in music more so than passively listening. Um, and do you see that it helps students who might be considered trouble children, maybe is a way to put it, by other teachers in math or whatever other subjects they're trying to learn, and they just can't pay attention, or they, acting out or whatever, and then they come to music and it's a whole different person?
What I see from kids and what their classroom teachers see is not always the same. And I'm sometimes surprised to hear that somebody is a problem in another class. I'm like, they excel. They excel for me. And then there are some that I would think would excel that don't, but no, really, it's tapping into that different side, and they need that self-expression. They need that ability to let go and to really look at the humanity of it. I think we're not looking at boom, 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 hard facts. We just covered Beethoven, and I read to them a letter that Helen Keller had written after hearing Beethoven's Ninth Symphony. And I had kids just afterwards saying, wow, it was in fourth grade. But
Hmm.
they were just amazed because she talked about how she could feel the vibrations and she could sense the different tones, and she knew when there were voices and she knew when there were instruments, specifically talking about the cornets and the violins. And for somebody who had never even seen those instruments, let alone heard them, uh, to have that understanding that even those fourth graders could hear her words and go, wow, it's deep. And they got that it was deep as well.
So that's all vibration uh through the tactile senses rather than through the auditory.
Yeah.
Huh, interesting.
Yeah. And I don't even, and we've talked about how we knew that Beethoven used vibrations a lot, and said, I don't even understand how he got that much. And then to compare it to Helen Keller, and how she could describe his music, again, using the vibrations, I'm like, okay, guys, we can't get this. We can't understand it because we're hearing.
Yeah.
But music can touch people in so many different ways.
I think if we it's kind of like when you're gardening and you have a big plant and you see some of the vines or some of the branches withering. You have to actually chop that off so that then all the energy can go into the other ones. I think that's what happens with the senses. We
Yeah.
shouldn't chop off our senses, but if we don't have a sense, then the other ones become more powerful and or more sensitive, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, that's fascinating. Um, so how, just so you talk about sound and vibration, do you ever do cymatics experiments with your kids or show them any videos of cymatics?
Um, okay, cymatics, that's a term I'm not used to.
That's
What is?
the physics of sound. So
Oh, okay, I've never used
have,
that word.
having a like vibration through water, creating the sacred geometrical patterns or different ways of showing the frequency of sound visually.
We do a lot of things with the different instruments as far as, I'll have them out and, okay, which ones make longer sounds, which ones are shorter sounds, and why. And so they come up with the fact that metal vibrates longer than wood. And so they get that. And there's an amazing Magic School Bus video from long ago that is still great for looking at the vibrations, and it helps them at a young age understand it.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. Have you seen the Donald Duck in Math and Magic Land?
I haven't seen that in forever, but yes.
Yeah, that was one of the things that got me going because I was a math whiz growing up. And I just thoroughly enjoy. I literally had the nickname Calculator Boy in third grade.
Oh my goodness.
I never wrote down any of my answers, and I always got 100%, and I was way above everybody else. And that being a flute player, male, and a calculator boy, yeah, not a great combination for popularity, but it happened. So, and that's the reality. So, yeah, but that's I think that those those types of lessons are really powerful because it reaches kids in a way that they can understand really simply. So with that, do you still teach instrumental music?
I don't. I That's been something that I've kept up with on my own as far as playing. I played as a member of the Ruby Mountain Symphony for years and years. And now we've got our Elko Community Orchestra that I play in. So that's kind of my connection. And then I also get to still connect with the high school students with organizing the adjudication festivals for both choir and the instrumental festival as well.
Hmm, very nice. So you're keeping, do you ever bring your flute into class and play for your students? Yeah.
Yeah, they love that.
Yeah.
And I play, we have a handbell group that tours at Christmas time to the schools. And so they always wind up putting some kind of flute feature in with it as well. And yeah, the kids like to see me play with them.
Nice. Nice. So as one of the questions I ask a lot of the guests on our podcast that I think is going to be helpful from your perspective with the younger kids that you're teaching is how do you think the identity of a practicing musician is evolving in today's world?
Oh, in today's world, well, there's a lot of bad things in today's world, but there's a lot of good as well. I don't think it's changed as far as being that musician and practicing and knowing that the music is still there. I think being a connoisseur of all different types of music maybe has branched out a little since they have access to it. I think that's the big thing. But again, keeping that openness and not quitting, remembering that you can still be involved in music no matter what you're doing. And letting them know that, yeah, we talk about, I tell them about college times and how important band was and the fun trips, and I'll show them field shows of like Ohio State and things, and talk about the experiences when I'm kind of recruiting them to say, hey, think about band in the future, and to point out the fact that so many of the kids in like college bands are not music majors, that they're definitely still involved and you can love it no matter what.
Yeah. Do you notice that some kids come into class having been brought up with different musical tastes?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I've got a huge blend. We've got a whole lot of country kids here. But I also, it surprises me with the amount of the 80s. They love their 80s rock. And I'm like, wait, where did that come from? Their parents have taught them well. So as we've explored genres and they're showing different things and letting them hear, and I've got kids singing along, like, how do you know that song? And they just do that and they love it. And then we also have a really vibrant native culture here. We've got the Shoshone reservation is right here, the Paiute. And so to have that experience and to look at how important music is in native culture is really big. And I let them be the teachers of it because it's their life.
Yeah, I was about to ask, do you ever bring in musicians from the tribe?
I have not, but I went. They did a drumming group through with the kids, and it was happened right before school started last year. And they did a summer program, and I went to see it, and they performed at the college, and the kids and families were very excited that I went to see it. I went, okay, we need to do this more. We need to, and I need to get it organized to bring in the dancers because there are so many dance groups that work as well. So I
Yeah.
need to push that. You know, we were without having that opportunity to bring folks in for assemblies with all of the restrictions for COVID for so long. So now
Mm.
that we're getting assemblies back and that's one that needs to happen. And actually, I talked to my principal about it, and nothing ever came from that. So I will be following up for next year.
Yeah. No, it's great to do you have are you allowed to have guests in like other have you had other people come in and talk with your students?
We've had assemblies, like during we have Cowboy Poetry Week, and so they always get they get exposed to the instruments at that stage, and they get to go to the convention center and watch performances there, and so I always tie that in. So we definitely need the native culture in.
Cowboy poetry?
Cowboy poetry, yes.
What is
The cowboy poetry in Elko,
that?
Nevada is it's one of the hugest events there are. It's crazy.
I've never even heard of cowboy poetry. So is it like spoken word or is it like
It's a combination of spoken word, and lots of music happens that week. And during that week, there's not an open hotel room at all.
wow, popular, huh?
Yeah, I forget what annual, oh my gosh, I forget what they're up to and how many years. It's big.
Hmm.
You need to look it up. Cowboy poetry in Elko, Nevada.
I'm gonna write that down here. Cowboy poetry. Wow. Okay, nice. Yeah, so okay, I can't ask that question. We're past that. I can't, that would be inappropriate.
What?
No. I'll ask it after the podcast.
Okay.
Yeah. Um, so the so being someone who has taught young kids to appreciate music for sometimes the first time in their life for over 30 years of your career, what advice would you give to someone who's listening to this podcast who wants to start their journey as a practicing musician but might not have ever had that opportunity when they were growing up?
I think one one thing that holds people back is finances.
Yeah.
I especially with the demographics of where I'm at, I know that would be a definite concern. And so they need to know that finances don't have to hold them back. I started playing flute on a flute that my parents found in a yard sale, and it was the oldest, roughest looking flute of anybody because they all had their bright, shiny, and mine was actually not a plated flute. It was silver. And yeah, it had scratches on it and things, but I loved my flute. And my case looked like it was falling apart, but it was amazing. And I took pride in that instrument. And that's the flute I played on for many, many years. And I played on that one through into high school. And then it's just been at Christmas this year that I got a new flute. I had been on the same one since high school, and my husband surprised me, and it was just amazing. I couldn't believe the difference, which at this level, it's like, okay, yes, that makes a huge difference, but I didn't need that to start with. So I was playing on $100 flute for years, and I absolutely loved it. And don't think, another thing for the kids, I guess, is don't think that just because you join band that pigeonholes you into that only, because you can do so much. You can be involved in music, and that doesn't take you out of being involved in sports. That doesn't take you out of being involved in 4-H or Cub Scouts or Girl Scouts or whatever they want to pursue, that they
Mhm.
can do so many things.
Yeah, my first flute when I was growing up, I had one of those curved head joints, and then it went into a straight head joint when I got a little bit older.
Yeah, at
Uh,
4 years old, I guess you would need that curved head joint.
I was a small 4-year-old too until I was in seventh grade. Seventh grade, I was 4'11". So I
Wow.
was very small. I was the third smallest person in all of my school. Uh, and then I shot up to 6'1" in the next 12 months. So that was very painful.
Wow.
But my flute, like it's a banana flute is what I call it. So, and so for the first until about high school, that was what I played on. And it wasn't always the most in tune, but I've been playing for so long, I still sounded better than everybody in the fifth and sixth grade bands. But yeah, I mean, you don't need the most professional. I would stay away from those instrument shaped objects on Amazon that are like claiming to be instruments, but really
True.
Yeah, those aren't good, but you can get a really nice student flute, or even renting. Renting's a great option. That's affordable for a lot of people.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best option I would recommend to people because they don't know that that's the instrument they want. And go with a rental program because give that a try. And, you could try flute and go, whoa, no, this is not for me. And maybe you're better suited for brass. A lot depends on what their pre-experience is as far as helping them choose an instrument. I remember our director looking and recommending specific instruments to us and looking at our mouths and looking at different things and saying, okay, you would be really good. Your lips would make you really good for flute. Like, okay, I would. And I don't know if he was just telling me that or not, but I believed him. And I knew I was going to be a good flute player because he said so.
Yeah, no, it's we have a during the pandemic we worked with New Haven Symphony Orchestra to create an online instrument selection process, which has to go into listening to different pieces that feature each of the instruments so then you can hear what you like the most. Because if you like the sound of it, you're probably intrinsically motivated to learn it and then learn about your like favored pitch range, low, high, medium, all these kinds of things. Different rhythms. Like if you're not as fast of a person, you might want to do something like tuba or trombone. And then if you're faster, maybe flute. So there's all these different ways of trying to identify to the student themselves some of their own qualities and characteristics that might lead them to prefer one instrument over the other. And I think it's really common for people to have to go through testing out multiple different instruments before they find the one that they really like. I know that happened to me. I started on flute, played till I was 15, still play a bit, but went to piano and then saxophone and then found drum kit when I was 15. And that's, I play a couple hours a day still.
Yeah.
I love it. So, uh,
Our youngest son, my husband is a music teacher as well, and he teaches K-12, so he's got band, choir, and general music. And so we've got the luxury of having all of the instruments. And I remember it was a Sunday afternoon, we went to his classroom so that our youngest could try everything out.
mm,
And he was good on this, he was good on that, he was good on this, and then he picked up a French horn. And I just remember going, whoa, wait, what? He could play the French horn immediately. Like, okay, this is not even an option. This is your instrument.
yeah, yeah, that's pretty incredible. So it just, there was something about well, and I mean, like if you play a French horn like you would play a flute, it sounds kind of weird. So there's also just that kind of like how do I express myself naturally? And then different instruments are typically written for in certain ways because that's actually the way that they'll sound the best. So
Mhm.
it's interesting to have experienced that with your son, I'm
Yeah,
sure. Like he knows it.
it was one of those light bulb moments. Just go, wow. I remember just whipping around because my husband was working with him a lot and I was doing other things in the room. And at that point, it was like, whoa,
Yeah.
that's it right there.
Mhm. Nice. So, as you teach students, do you see in them that the like ones that are going to go on to play music or continue on in band or choir or whatever it might be after they're done with your general music program? Is there like a moment that you realize that it's more than just a hobby or something that they want to continue doing?
I think my kiddos are so young that I don't have that kind of aha moment. And my thing is just to continue pushing them and again keep that open mind and try. I did have one girl yesterday. She specifically, before she left, said, I'm going to try out for the Choraliers. That's the premier high school choir here. And so for her to say that as she left, she had already made that decision. That was a huge thing.
Mm,
And she and I have had this amazing connection because at my previous school, I taught her brothers. So they used to live in Spring Creek, then they moved to Elko, and so in the time in between, I had changed schools as well, and so she was super excited to have that connection, and I think that personal connection is big, um,
yeah.
whether it's something like that or any other thing that we can have. It's one of the reasons I love doing duties. I'm on recess duty or lunch duty, and to be able to connect with the kids and talk about other things other than just music and to relate to them on life levels. It lets them then open their mind, So it gives me a little more credibility as far as talking to them about life, and they get it, and we use it. We just connect things everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and that, I mean, I think it's important to get to know students on various different levels, reach them in different ways. So they're too young to realize that it's more than just a hobby. For you, it sounds like you knew you wanted to be a teacher for a long time and you'd been playing music for quite a while. When was it that you realized that you wanted to actually teach music? When did you realize that that was what you wanted to teach and that it was more than just a hobby for you?
Um, I knew I wanted to teach, but I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to teach. And so it wasn't until that elementary music methods class that all of a sudden the bells and whistles were going off saying, this is my calling. And so that would have been I think sophomore year of college, end of sophomore year, that once I was in a classroom with the little kids, there was a local Catholic school that did not have a music program, and the college methods class was their music program. So
Mm.
it worked out that we got to have them as our guinea pigs as we were figuring out what was going on. And so we'd walk over a couple blocks away from the school, and it just made me love it. And then student teaching, my degree is K-12. And I think a lot of the schools in the East do that. I'm not even sure. I know some are specialized with specifically band or choir, but for me it was K-12, and so we had to student teach in general music for elementary and then also in band and choir. And I think that experience helped me also solidify, nope, this is where I want these littles.
Mm.
It's such a formative time.
Oh yeah. No, it's so important. I've been watching a seminar on well, he calls it natural law, but essentially just ways that things work. And he goes into the comparison of, he makes the claim that humans are programmable, which would go back even to John Locke and Tabula Rasa and being a blank slate and the whole nature versus nurture kind of debate that has been going on for a very long time. But um, the interesting thing is that we, even in our English language, call it the formative years. And then in a computer, which has to be programmed, we call it the format of the computer. You have to format your computer, and that's then the foundation for the operating system through which we then view the world for the rest of our life, or until we have to refactor the the code that we're operating under, the operating system that we're operating under. So those formative years are very, very important. And yeah, I think forming those bonds with the kids that is on a musical level, which can reach them in dimensions that that a lot of other teachers can't, or sometimes just can even reach them in general, with like you're talking about with some of the other students. Then we're able to provide a better format for them moving forward. Um, what is let's see. So with your own kids, this is always interesting for me as a music teacher running an online school, knowing amazing music teachers all across the nation, having taught concert band, having taught privately, having played all over the world with amazing musicians, having some of the best opportunities I could ever think of. My daughter will not learn from me. But she loves her orchestra class, which is essentially the El Sistema model. Um, and she loves it. She's with 100 other kids. She gets to perform. She gets to play a couple times a week violin, but she won't learn from me. Is that an experience that you find in with your own kids or with other music teachers that
Oh
it's
yeah.
like, yeah.
I highly recommend not teaching your own children. It always means more coming from someone else. It doesn't matter what an expert you are on a subject. It means more coming from someone else. I think the biggest thing for me was to
Mm.
be supportive of them and whatever they were trying out, and whatever their current music teacher. I taught them for elementary music, and then they moved on, um, and whether or not I agreed with things that they would come home and tell me about their experiences in their music classes, I supported their music teacher
Mm,
and would always validate, well, okay, if that's what he told you to do, then you try it that way. And really to help them learn that it's okay to be themselves and not just carbon copy what their dad or I have done.
yeah. Yeah, it's very important. So how do you do that?
Holding my tongue a lot, listening to them. They're
Yeah.
both grown now. 21, 22 and 24.
Mhm.
But they both were involved in music. They were in my elementary choir. And so they both sang and moved on then to middle school where they got to do band and then joined they in middle school they had to choose band or choir, so they did band, and then when they got to high school they were in both band and choir, and both of them got to do lots of experiences, and they both went on to college and joined the marching band.
Mm,
And so they've loved that time, and I think it's helped them grow. Supporting them, buying things. Oh my gosh, we bought so many mutes because they're both brass players. They wanted to try this one, they wanted to try that one, and so that was huge. Encouraging them, and when they would get frustrated with things, to just encourage them to keep going as well.
yeah. Yeah, so kind of guiding from a distance more so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I found with my daughter. She's really funny. She just, yeah, very strong-headed.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but well, so pivoting for a minute to talk about some of the performance aspect of what you've done over the years. Um, how do you find the balance between the discipline of practicing and the joy of playing or performing? And then how do you like instill that, I guess, also in your students?
I'm really an awful one for this because I hate to practice.
Really?
I am such an impatient person. I want it perfect and I want it now for myself. I can teach the kids about being patient and it goes little by little and I can help them go step by step. But for me personally, I want to play it right and I want to play it right away.
Yeah.
So it's a challenge. Um, it's just always a challenge. And in fact, this last community orchestra concert that we had, I had to practice some things. Oh, I'm fortunate that, a lot of what we pick, the levels are things that I don't have to go back and double check. But this time has been a good eye opener of, oh yeah, there are still passages that I need to check. And then also one of our other players in community orchestra, he asked if he wanted to play duets at times. So there are times I'll go over to his place on a Sunday afternoon, and he and I will just play through duets, and it brought out a kind of a reawakening of the joy of practicing, and we laugh together like crazy because we both make mistakes, and our reading has improved so much
Mm,
by the sight reading, and we just keep going, and no matter what, and there are times when yes we do have to stop because wait, where are you, wait, where are you, because the stuff that we're sight reading is not easy stuff, and there's a lot of wrong notes that happen, but we're finding the joy in creating that music together, and then we'll go back and fix, and but it's just been a fun experience, and we haven't performed those at all, but
yeah.
it's helped me play in the orchestra then. My reading has improved.
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of people like that w want something without having to practice or are too impatient to practice, really. It's not even necessarily wanting something without having to practice. It's the perfectionism almost.
Right.
So with that kind of mindset, how do you go about learning a particularly challenging piece or a technique and actually mastering that so that then you don't have to go back and learn it again when you see it in the future in other pieces?
When I get to something that I have to dig into, um, it's looking at it very methodically, and slowing it down like crazy, working it out, working it in chunks, and that's one thing. I love teaching privately too. And I haven't taught privately in many years at this point. At one point, it was actually before I had kids. I had a private studio going that I would finish my day at school and then come home, and I had just as many hours worth of lessons at night through the week as I did during the day at school.
Wow.
Yeah.
Busy.
And so I could explain it. It just is hard for me to do myself.
Yeah.
But to break passages down and work from the back, work it backwards. I think that's one of my biggest things with helping folks. And if
Hmm.
you start at the beginning all the time, you're going to hit the same roadblocks every single time, and getting past them is not going to work. So start from the end and keep adding a little bit more. And pretty soon the end isn't the hard part. And you get to where the hard part eventually was. And oh, wait, it's not hard anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a really important lesson. If you learn something backwards, then by the time you get to the beginning, you can play it.
Yeah. Everybody always wants to start at the beginning of a piece to practice it. And then, oh, yeah, this is where I always mess up.
Yeah.
Okay, then let's look there.
Yeah. No, that's really important. Because in reality, like when we're looking at a whole piece of music, it is, you break it up into its component parts, and it essentially is like, well, that's why they say music is a language, because you have the letters, and then you have the words, and then you have the sentences, and then you have the punctuation, and then you have the phrasing, and you have, the paragraphs, and you have all these different things. And so if you break it up into each of those individual pieces, first of all, I think that's one of the reasons why we created Practicing Musicians, because a lot of the times we don't learn each of those component parts very well before we go and try and put it into music.
Mm-hmm.
When we look at actually learning language, first of all, it's auditory first. We listen for a long time before we, as little children, just babble even incoherently, and then single syllables, and then two syllables, and then words, and then it kind of builds up there. Then we write a lot of times with like a shadow. We're like tracing an
Mm-hmm.
a year when we're 5. So we go 5 years without even looking at symbols. It's just auditory. And then we get into music class, and it's like, okay, here's Mary Had a Little Lamb, a weekend to picking up your instrument. It's like, okay, well, that's a lot of complexity. Actually, I mean, it's 3 notes, but there's a lot, like it's not just 3 notes. It's
Oh,
the
yeah. So much that goes
musculature.
into it.
Oh yeah, the spatial awareness, the mind telling your body what to do with an abstract symbol, that there's multiple different meanings in a single symbol, rhythm and pitch at the very least, and then that has to be yeah, it's very, very complex. So
I actually point that out to kids and say, look, do you realize your brain is firing on all cylinders right now? Music is so complex. And they I think they get it. I love during testing weeks, I'll have the classes before they go to test, and I'm like, okay, you're going to do better on this test today than any other class because you just started your day with music
yeah,
and everything is going. And they're like,
yeah,
oh, really? We will?
yeah. Yeah, no, it's pretty incredible. Have you seen there's a 4-minute TED Ed video, TED Talks, TED Ed, it's an animation by Anita Collins and talking about the neuroscience of the brain.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's fantastic. Oh, I think we might have watched that actually together during the pandemic.
We might have. And
Yeah.
my son's high school director showed it to start one of their concerts one time.
Oh yeah, that's
Showed it to the audience.
yeah, I mean, I think if only we need a lot more research like that to be done so that music can be taken more seriously by policymakers who are cutting, funding. And hopefully we can curb some of this wave of funding, no funding, funding, less funding. Like it's just, we see these patterns. Right now in California, they've just passed Prop 28, which is $1 billion, $980 million a year for arts programs. But, how long is that going to last? And
Right.
the reality is one of the reasons that they had to do this is because it's something like 80% of schools in California don't have a like music program. And I was like, that's insane. But when our sales representatives are talking with school districts, they're like, oh yeah, we're trying to create music programs in our elementary schools. I'm like, you just don't have them? Like the last Gallup poll that I saw, which was, granted, it was a while ago, but there's not a lot of money in music, so they don't even do a lot of surveys into these things. But 92% of schools nationwide had music programs. So if California really is down to like 20%, that's the lowest in the nation, which that's why they created this. This is 80% of the Prop 28 is supposed to go to hiring new teachers.
Wow. I know when I have any new kids that come into my class, that's one thing I ask, where'd you move from? And, different things. And did you get to go to music at your other school?
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot that have not.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't understand. I mean, being brought up, having been brought up in a musical family, all my family plays music. Almost all of them play flute, actually, which is why they started me on flute. But I just can't understand the whole mindset of focusing so much on operational skills and less about expressive skills. And so actually let's talk about that for a minute. So the social emotional like component that there's been a big push for, especially during the pandemic. Are you seeing that being more integrated now that the pandemic's over, or was that primarily to take care of mental health during the school closures?
Mental health is something that I think has gotten increased focus, but it's still not focused on enough. I think that it was definitely addressed during the pandemic, and I think it's kind of fallen by the wayside. And I think that's a huge disservice. Even with our school district, they did a big mental health push this year, but it was a volunteer thing. They put these programs on for parents, and they had very little participation. And so I think we do need to have an integrated approach to knowing that the whole person is important and not to ignore the mental health side.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think just being involved in arts in general actually vicariously helps with the mental health, even if we don't call it mental health or therapy or whatever, the term we normally attach to it. But that just natural form of expression can help center somebody. Or so well, we have a few minutes left here, so let's see. Okay, I've got to ask you a question. I love this question. A lot of people are afraid to get on stage. So I always ask, what are some of your most humiliating moments on stage? And then how did you overcome those afterwards?
I have never been somebody who's shy about getting on a stage
Yeah, me
at
neither.
all. And I know that like public speaking is like the number one fear in America, which I don't get. I'll get up in front of a group of 10,000 people and talk and not worry about it. Whether it's talking or singing or playing,
Yeah.
it doesn't bother me. So I don't know that I even have. I've had experiences as a director that have been like, oh wow, okay, that happened. Where I remember catching a kid as as they were singing, and she was passing out, and I saw her slumping down, and I
Mhm.
kept directing and walked over, and my one arm went around her under her arm, and my other hand kept directing, and a dad from the audience came and swooped her from, it was a doctor actually, swooped her from under my arm and took her out, and the entire choir kept singing. And so that was kind of amazing. That's not embarrassing though. That's one of those like, oh yay. Um, oh wow. I performed a lot too. And I
Yeah, no,
don't remember
I've
being.
never really felt fearful of being on stage, but there's times where it's like getting a call to do to fill in and just not knowing any of the material and just messing up like
Oh,
very bad. And it's like, I just kind of brush it off. It's like, I didn't know the music, but a lot of people there'd be, yeah, the funniest one, I've told this on the podcast once before, but it's very funny. I got a call to play at this Special Olympics award ceremony up here in for the Washington State. Um, and I got the call 4 days before it was happening. 2.5 hours worth of material that I knew zero of the songs. And so I was like, okay, I will do this. This is a great opportunity. And I learned a lot of the songs for drums and that kind of music. A lot of it's pretty straightforward. So I can just watch, it's like, okay, four on the floor and, that kind of stuff. But there was a song that I didn't know called We Got the Beat by the Go-Go's.
You
And
didn't know we got the beat? Oh my
I
gosh.
didn't know it. I didn't know it. And so there's the part where everybody drops out except for the drums. And I didn't know that. So I was watching them and I just stopped playing well. And the entire dance floor left and never came back.
Oh,
And all the people are like, what happened? I'm like, I don't know the song. Like, what did you want me to do? You all stopped playing. They're like, yeah, you're supposed to keep playing. I was like, oh, I had a drum solo? Like, or like,
oh,
not even a drum solo, really. It's just keeping the beat still.
right.
Yeah, but I didn't know that. So, yeah. So,
Wow.
but then, that's the thing is I think what I've learned from that is, so what? To a degree, I know a lot of people, a lot of accomplished musicians who, when they go and see shows, they'd almost rather see somebody mess up a little bit because that means that they're trying something really challenging. And I don't know many people who are in an audience who are like really rooting for the musicians to have a disaster. And they're all rooting
Right.
for it to happen. So it sound good. So yeah, have you ever had experiences like that where it's like not humiliating necessarily to you, but it was something that was like a big mistake and it's like, oh, if somebody else might view it that way?
Yeah. And I think it's really funny. Like with Ruby Mountain Symphony, I always played second flute, always. And well, partly because I wanted to play piccolo as well. But the and the first and I were really good friends, and she's like, we can change, we can switch if you want, we can go back and forth. I'm like, oh no, we get paid the same amount. You go ahead and play all those extra notes and now play second. And I would selectively choose, runs that were 16th note runs. All of a sudden might have been eighth note runs instead. And I would modify parts because I wanted to get the result, but not necessarily, my fingers did not have all that technique in there. And I hoped that it was something that I could cover. And apparently I did, because things always went well. And that I can still beat myself up. We just did, for our orchestra concert, we ended with Stars and Stripes. And I've been playing Stars and Stripes since I was a freshman in high school. Again, my director had gone to Clarion. It was a Clarion tradition that you ended every concert with Stars and Stripes. And of course, those piccolos were up front and standing. And so as a freshman in high school, I was told, oh yeah, by the way, you're not just playing this, but you're going to be up front standing. So it better be memorized as well. So that's something that has been ingrained in me. And so anytime I play Stars and Stripes, if I miss any notes at all, I tend to beat myself up
Yeah.
because it's an important part.
Yeah. Well, so it's interesting. So it's not necessarily humiliating. That's more part of the perfectionist in you of being like, yeah.
Yeah. Which again, I preach to the kids of, we just do our best, but then I want to be perfect.
Yeah. Yep. No, which I think that that's why music is such a great outlet for perfectionists, because there is always something new to learn. There's always something that it's like I need to, in a way, I've had to become okay with not being perfect all the time, because there's just it's an infinitely never ending journey, which is very, very exciting to me, at least as someone who is a perfectionist. That's why I play drums 1, 2, sometimes even 3 hours a night, because I just sit back there and explore what is possible, and use some structure, go back to old classics that I love, and then just really explore very bizarre things and try and come up with new new ways of relating to the kit.
Mm-hmm. I
So,
think that playing things you love is so important. And that's one thing that I will tell kids as well it's okay if you're not always just practicing the hard sections. Find something you love.
mm,
And, a lot of times it was like movie themes. There were books that had movie themes that were all the rage at one point, and they were not musically challenging at all. Who cares? If that got the kid to play and they were trying their best to play that well, then that translates to other things also.
Oh yeah.
It's falling in love with that music.
Yeah, I mean, aligning with the student's interest. You don't have to convince somebody to learn something that they're interested in. We'll put it that way.
Right.
Yeah, so if it's like, oh, I get to learn this song that from my favorite TV show or from my favorite movie, yeah, I mean they're gonna learn it. They're not even you don't even have to do very much at that point. I
Right.
mean, you just guide them and give them feedback. But yeah, they're interested, intrinsically motivated. So, well, is there anything with the last minute or two that we have here that you'd like to share with the audience about yourself, about any inspiration that you have for them,
Oh
anything
my
to close
goodness.
on?
That is just a very broad category.
Yes.
It
I'm
goes back
not
to a
gonna.
poster that I had in my classroom of music is for everyone forever.
Yeah.
And that sums it up. You don't have to be a professional musician to love music. You don't have to hit every note correctly to still be a musician and to still love it. So go for it.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I agree with that wholeheartedly. So thank you very much for coming on to the I'm a Practicing Musician podcast, Kathy. It's been a while since we've even chatted
It has.
in general, but to see you again in this setting has been great. So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. I was thrilled when Margot asked me.
Excellent. I'm going to end the stream now and we'll thank you everybody for listening at home and we'll see you next time.